Hey, everybody, what is up? This is Katrina from MCAT We Trust, and this is my very first Spooktober fest celebrating all things Halloween. And what better way to start that off than with the movie series Saga Halloween, Michael Myers. And here I have with me a super fantastic guest, Justin. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. And so, when we think of Halloween, outside of it being October 31st, we think of like all the slashers, all the killer type vibes of Halloween, and most particular Michael Myers, just because he's one of the OG slashers uh, from even before Ghostface, shall I say? I believe his first movie was at 78, the first Halloween. I feel like it was 78.
Something like
Um,
that, yeah.
so he's one of the OG slashers that we got in the Halloween genre. And so I guess before I get into like the nitty gritty, what are your I guess your overall thoughts about Michael Myers and kind of where he ranks as toppers as far as other slashers?
All right, so boom. So the Halloween franchise is my personal favorite of the slasher horror movie franchises. This is the one that I grew up on. It's the first one that I remember watching as a kid. Like that got me hooked into the horror genre of movies. Michael Myers to me is the GOAT of serial killers. Yes, I said the GOAT. I know people are gonna say Freddy Krueger. Some people are gonna say Jason Voorhees. Jason Voorhees ain't as good as Michael Myers. You put that man near water and he's useless. Freddy Krueger, once you get him outside the dream zone, he's useless. Michael Myers, when you talk about the greatest Mikes of all time, Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, Mike Tyson, Michael Myers. Boom.
I love that. I love that analogy because I usually say I don't like most Michaels, but certain Michaels I like, and Michael Jordan and Michael Jackson are always the ones I go with. But that definitely makes sense. I like that. And you said Mike Tyson, and he's definitely somebody I consider one of the greats as well. Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. Well, I do like Freddy Krueger just because of the whole dream aspect. I really think Jason Voorhees is absolutely the worst. Um, I don't understand how he has as many movies as he does, or how he made it in New York. Uh,
That's
with
still like one of the greatest Friday the 13th though, where he takes Manhattan. It's like, bro. So first off, we just on cruise ships, like running amok, and then he's just loose in New York City. Like he boxes a man on a rooftop, one shot kill, and it's just like it's like the greatest and worst death scene I've ever seen. But it's so like, oh man, why would you punch a man that has like a mask on his face?
I mean, I would say it's true to New York for, but New Yorkers truly usually don't care. What I would say, I felt like 80s New York was kind of bad. And I'm like, y'all really let this man do all this in the 80s? Like, I don't know,
I
guys. I
mean,
don't know. It didn't
if
really
you
sit
know New York in like the 70s and 80s, it's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Which is why the 90s they were like, yeah, we gotta clean all of this mess up. Y'all just running amok.
So the basic, I guess, the first original movie was Michael Myers kills his sister as a child. He's put away, and then he kind of escapes and go after Laurie Strode and her friends. And so one yay to oh man, how did I forget her name? Jamie Lee Curtis. There you go. Jamie
Mhm.
Lee Curtis, just because I felt she was definitely somebody who she didn't. I mean, I have a discrepancy with most people when they do like horror movies when it's that one woman or like the women that's in the movie and they don't always do the smartest choices. And her choices wasn't too bad considering. I usually think that I'm like, why are we making this choice? Like, why is this choice we're making in this scenario? Like, you got to be smart about this if you're trying to make it to the end of the movie. And she actually didn't make too many bad choices, but I would say that I did like kind of the aspect of it was just random teenagers and it wasn't how they eventually tried to go. And it was like, this is the sister as well. And it was all this stuff. And I'm like, we don't even need to do that. I think making it like where they were both related just was like, what would be the reason to want to kill your sister who was a baby? Like, what would be the reason for that? Logically, just didn't make sense to me. But I do like that he was like, oh, he just saw some teens and he just felt the way. Okay, like get the killing. And so to me, I actually liked that aspect of it, except for when they kept making the weird thing, and then that whole Halloween 6, is it 6? Where it had nothing to do with Michael Myers. I didn't even understand what that
So
was.
it's Halloween 3, which was
Oh,
Season of the Witch, where they went completely away from the franchise, and we were like, eh? How dare you bring him back? And then Halloween 4, like, okay, fine. We heard you loud and clear. You love Michael Myers. We killed him and Loomis, but we gotta find a way to bring him back. So there you go. You happy now? I was like, yes. Don't do that again.
Yeah, I never understood why we got season of the witch. It was just so unnecessary. I'm kind of glad they kind of decided not to really put it as canon anymore because we didn't need that. I didn't understand what that was supposed to be as far as where they were going with the story. And why I'm a firm believer that sometimes movie people need to let it go as far as let's not drag it because I feel like once you drag certain series, it doesn't hold the same level of like enjoyment I had for it previously. Or like I'm like, all right, I'm kind of tired of now seeing Michael Myers. Like, if I haven't learned by now, like, why
Hmm.
are we still like? There's no way you haven't learned by now. And so because I mentioned the whole Rob Zombie reboots, what were your thoughts as far as how he portrayed Michael Myers, where he went with it, and just I feel like Rob Zombie has a very specific style when he does directing. And so in Rob Zombie fashion, that was Michael Myers. So what were your thoughts on that reboot bunch of movies he decided to go with?
So I applaud the effort because it's hard to reboot a franchise that's very beloved, even though you can say Halloween 4, 5, and 6 is a reboot because Halloween 2, they kill off Michael, they kill off Dr. Loomis. So this franchise has been rebooted a couple times. So you gotta applaud the effort because it's hard because people like myself, I know I'm not the only one that loves the Halloween franchise, that loves Michael Myers, that loves the story. OG Halloween is the greatest horror movie of all time because of the fact that it's not really about the kills. It's about the fact that he's stalking and that unsettling presence of like there's someone watching you at all times and you don't know when they're gonna strike is just as terrifying as like getting killed like in a car or getting killed while you're having sex and stuff like that. So that's what made like that OG Halloween movie so beloved. And I know Halloween 2, like a lot of people don't like it. I personally love it because it's a continuation of the story. And it's just like now that Michael got shot 6 times, now he's on one. Now he's pissed off because it's like, bro, you shoot me 6 times? Oh, now there's hell to pay. And so he just goes on an absolute killing spree. And then when you think about it, it's basically a continuation of that first night. So it's all happening in like 8 hours. So he's basically killing like a person every 10 minutes, which is like insane. But it's also like you said, like I could have done without the well, Laurie's his sister and he killed one sister and now he's going after the other. Like you didn't need that part. But for the Rob Zombie franchise, it's like he gets an A for effort. But it's like you said, like if you're not familiar with Rob Zombie movies, he directs things a specific way that's like very graphic, very animated, and it's kind of like a acquired taste where if you're not a fan of it, then it's kind of like a hard to really digest it. But I do like that he tries to go into like the psyche of Michael and why Michael becomes Michael because John Carpenter just left it as just like he's just straight up evil. There's no rhyme or reason, which is terrifying because as you know, like how life is today, sometimes there's no rhyme or reason why people do what they do. But Rob actually tried to go into the psyche of like, how does a kid like that become a mass murderer? So he gets an effort for that. And the first one is like actually good. It's just hella graphic. If that's not your acquired taste, then it is what it is. Halloween 2, that's just an abomination. That's the worst of these Halloween movies. That's like, absolutely not. We're not watching that again. I refuse. It comes up on my queue. I'm like, can you take this off my queue? Skip this, whatever. I'd rather watch Halloween Resurrection over this. Halloween Resurrection is not good, but at least you get Buster Rhymes doing kung fu on Michael Myers. It's the funniest shit ever. And if you watch Halloween Resurrection like it's a comedy movie with some horror stuff, then it's actually entertaining. But Halloween 2, the Rob Zombie one, is just like, what were you smoking when you came up with this? Were you on meth? Were you on crack? Like, bro, this is just nah. You can keep it. No, thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you about the second one was not good. And I again, Rob Zombie definitely has a way he does things, and so the graphic thing that was fine for me. I've been reading and watching stuff probably way before I should have been. So like I was a really young kid watching this kind of stuff, so it didn't bother me as far that it was graphic. Um, but I think what I did like about the original was because we didn't know the reason. I feel like that makes people more. It's more of a frightening experience. I feel if there's no reason. I feel like once you make a reason, you can now humanize this person. You can humanize this killer. But if there's no reason, he's just crazy and he just was like, you know what, today's a day. I just want to, do what you do. I feel like that's a lot more creepier. It's a lot more unsettling. because there's no rhyme and reason. I mean, I liked it, but I felt like it made you kind of empathize a little bit with him. It's like, oh well, he felt all of these things, and this is why he snapped. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. People go through these situations, and not everybody becomes mass murderers. So I don't know if you like, do you want to empathize with this person? You just want to be like, no, this guy is just nuts and he's just killing people and there's no reason. And clearly he likes to do it because he's doing it. Like he literally followed her to the hospital in the original Halloween too. Like to me, it's like, oh, I did all of this. I'm gonna follow you there and cause more problems. Like that is insane to me. So I feel like I appreciate that better as far as if you're making somebody feel a bit unsettling. Like why is this? This is a little off. That there's no reason why he's doing it. He's just it's a what a Halloween and that's it. It's just like a regular Tuesday or something. It's nothing very specific about why he did it, and so I did appreciate that reference. You mentioned Busta Rhymes, and I do think I had to. The first time I watched it, I didn't like it for that very reason, as I expected it to be horror. But then I had watched it again, and I was like, all right. If I watch it not thinking of it like that, it's a horror movie. It's not as bad as it is if you're looking at it as a horror movie perspective. Busta Rhymes is great though, and I feel like he does his little comedic roles well enough. As I think about how he was in Shaft as well, and he was mad funny. Uh, so the best parts of that movie was Samuel L. Jackson, and not that Samuel L. Jackson ain't great to be as, but like just having Busta Rhymes just there for comedic relief, like just there saying the most ridiculous things at the most ridiculous times was great. And so him doing that, and then there's Tyra Banks as well, that was in that I believe. And so
She was, although I was like, yeah. I mean, but then again, it was around that time where Tyra Banks was like supremely popular, so it's like I get it, but yeah.
I mean, after hearing everything I've heard about her, I feel like her ending was fun. Like I feel like everything I've heard about her and America's Next Top Model girlies, um, it's kind of like it's fine. What happened to you in the movie? It's great. It's fine. I was. That's why I'm like, oh, you did this. I don't feel bad anymore. But this is what happened to you. So what were your thoughts about Halloween H2O? Personally, that's actually one of my favorite ones. And I'm not like there's not really a specific reason. I think one, we get introduced to Josh Hartnett, who's pretty cool. That's my guy right there. Um, but also just the whole I liked her mom made an appearance, Shane Fonda, which is really cool to see. She was like a very small appearance, but it was nice, like, oh yay, you think of her for one of the original horror movie OGs, one of the original scream queens, if you will. But then also just the fact that 20 years later, it's like, oh, here we go again. Like 20 years later, you remembered her again. Like, oh, you're the one that got away. Let me come to you, and now you're family. And so, even though I know by this point they kind of said it was like a brother by this point, but I'm like taking that part out of it. I do like that he came back 20 years later, and I was slightly annoyed, and maybe this is me being a mom, when she's trying to explain to him, and he was just like, "Oh, mom," and I'm like, "Dude, like this is like clearly PTSD here. She has every right to feel stressed about this situation. Why are you being difficult? Like, why are you being a typical child right now?" So, what are your thoughts about that? Like, I guess iteration of the movie.
So if I did like Mount Rushmore of the Halloween franchise, Halloween H2O is definitely up there. It's one of my four favorite movies. I love that they skip over four, five, six, and basically it's like, all right, Halloween, Halloween 2, H2O. That's the canon. I love that they brought back Jamie Lee Curtis for this because a lot of stuff with what's the little girl that they go into Halloween Fort and stuff like that. Off the top of my head, like I can't remember, but like Halloween 4 is like great, but then it like tails off because then they start going into different areas with like Michael and whatnot versus H2O focuses on Lori. We catch up on Lori. She's got the PTSD, she's got the drinking problem, she's got the son and whatnot. We're in a different location that's not Haddonfield. They bring back the OG nurse, but then they kill her off early. But then it's like it's a lot of rhyme and reason that's like we finally get to Michael and Lori, which is what a lot of us love. And it brings us back to the OG movie. So it was like it was also a refresher because it was like they tried making good movies in the 80s. They tried with this well, I think it's Curse of Michael Myers in like the early 90s, but then like this one like really felt like, oh shit, it's a big deal. Like I actually remember going to like begging my parents to go to the movies to go watch this one. And it was just like a great theater experience of just like, yo, we're finally watching a fucking Michael Myers movie, but then this one actually makes some sense. And it was really cool. Like that one's really good. Like that's again top four.
Yeah, that's I think probably my second favorite one because I like the first Halloween and then H2O right after that. I feel, and I think a part of it is I thought the story did make more sense. The girl in number four, I think her name is Jamie. Um,
Jamie, yeah, Jamie Lloyd.
um, but yeah, I liked again the little cameos. And I felt like was this is the one also was it this one that had Jordan Gordon Levitt? And I'm thinking
Yeah,
it
he's
was in
he's
the
in
very
he's in the
beginning.
he's in like the first like 10, 15 minutes.
And I thought even like those deaths which was clearly like very brutal. And I was like, well, damn. I feel like at least like Jason Voorhees, he usually doesn't hurt children, but he like will hurt teenagers. Michael Myers really gives no shits.
He's equal opportunist. He's like, yo, black, white, Asian, male, female, child, like y'all catching this rap with this butcher knife.
Yeah, and so I'm like, you know what? He's like, it's rated E for everyone. Everybody gets it. And so in that regard, I'm like, all right, because at least Jason kind of feels sympathetic to children. He really just like, if you're here, sucks to be you kind of vibes. And so
Nah,
I
Mike's
think
like,
that
fuck
was
them
the thing I
kids.
really appreciated. I think it was like, oh, he really was just like, oh, F these kids. And I was like, oh man, like, ouch. But also, I respect it if you're talking about like crazy serial killer, that there's no actual, again, no really rhyme and reason behind what he does. He just does things. And that makes it creepy and like unsettling. And so I feel like, is it number six that had Paul Rudd?
Yeah.
Um, and so I did like, I guess, to say that he was a little bit. I feel like he had clearly some emotional issues after what happened supposedly for the first Halloween movie, which I guess you would. Honestly, if you had to deal with that as a little kid and you're watching all of this kind of happen, and I feel like that is a lot of PTSD to have. Um, what were your thoughts as far as how they told that story, but using the child she babysat to kind of tell the story again, and then they introduced new characters, but he was like the main focal point because he was the one who was aware that this happened.
Which one is this?
I think it's six. I believe it's
Oh, the
number
curse. So I like it and don't like it, and I don't like the parts that's like the cult stuff, which is what they introduced at the end of like five, where like they capture Michael Myers, but then the cult comes in and lets him go, which is some bullshit. And then they also kill off Jamie like in an extremely brutal way. That's probably like one of like the most like five terrifying death scenes I've ever seen, where it's just like beyond brutal. But it's cool that they introduced the baby. I like that Paul was in it because it's just like, dude, how fucking old are you? Like, you're always in these movies and you never age. Like, bruh, like, what's the secret? Is it water? Is it, Beyonce's internet? Like, bruh, how do you never age? But it's got its good moments. And then the cold stuff's just like, yeah, this makes no sense. But then you pivoted on this at the end of five. So now you gotta make it make sense. Some of those kill scenes are just like beyond brutal, but I'll still watch it. It's just one of those just like, yeah, I gotta like just turn off my brain and enjoy it and not try to put like logic behind this. Cause then it's just like, what the fuck were y'all thinking?
Yeah, I warned the Paul Rudd, who has aged pretty gracefully, honestly. He definitely, like, I'm like, dude, he's not as old as it seems, but I guess because he's been in movies, like, that movie's kind of back there. And so the fact that he was, like, if not early adulthood, and I was a kid when that movie came out, it's like, damn, Paul, okay. But yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I think it was very brutal, and I was okay with that. But there was the whole thing about the cult, and I'm like, oh, and it's like you guys did these shenanigans in the first set of these movies. That is like they're trying to fix it. They're trying to like make it make sense. Kind of what they did with how I felt they did with Doctor Sleep in The Shining because things were changed. So they tried to combine both to make it work with what happened in the first movie with Stanley Kubrick, and then what actually happens in the book. And so it was like things that it was good, but it really like, oh man, this is only because they had to try to stay true to what Stanley did in that movie. And so I felt like that's what they were trying to do with this one. But I don't know. I feel like this was one of the lower ones for me. And Paul's great. It's just I had an issue with the whole cult thing, and then you know
The character that
having
we spent two movies on, you kill her off like quickly and early. Like, really?
yeah,
But
that
then
that
again, this came out in like the mid 90s. So that's around that time of like, Seven, 12 Monkeys, where it's like that kind of cult stuff, Time to Kill. So they kind of go in like darker, different directions with it, but it's just like, nah, that wasn't it.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right about the cult stuff. You know, there's always a theme in Hollywood movies at the time, and so we didn't get a reboot kind of again, but this one now pretty much erased everything after Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2, and kind of brings it back to he was just killing some teens, and Lori was the one that got away, and now she's a person who I did appreciate that they implied everything that happened kind of not only caused her problems with her children. It was kind of weird to see. I'm not gonna lie, to have her like have a son with Josh Hartnett in Halloween H2O, but then they brought her back to kind of revamp it, but kind of stick to what the story was previously, which meaning she didn't really have that son, I guess. But she had a family, she had a daughter, she had like grandchildren and everything. And so I did like the whole aspect that it messed her up so bad that she had a really bad relationship with her family. Like clearly her daughter was trying to keep some distance because she thought it was like messing with her children. And I liked that aspect of it, that she was so messed up by everything that happened all these years later. As like an older woman, you're sitting here waiting for him to come back because you know he would, like those vibes. And so, what were your, I guess, your take on the very first movie of that now trilogy of kind of like a reboot?
I absolutely love that movie. That's my second favorite movie of this franchise. Like they did it so good. They basically said, "All right, Halloween OG, and that's it. Nothing else exists. We are taking the Men in Black neuralizer and saying, yeah, none of that shit exists. There you go, beep." But I love that they really lean into Laurie's PTSD because obviously you have that happen to you. It's gonna be so much trauma behind that. Even 4 decades later, it's like, yeah, you're not gonna forget that. You're always gonna be sleeping with one eye open, looking over your shoulder, like you never know when the boogeyman's gonna come. They made Michael Myers look more mortal than like the other movies where like he was more immortal and unkillable. Like this one, he's still supernatural, super strong, superhuman, but he can also die. Versus the other movies was kind of like he would die, but then he gets resurrected on some like like Nine Lives shit. But this one was more like there's a more human side to him, even though he's still terrifying. This one was also the first time you actually see him kill a kid. So now it really was all bets are off because like he killed that white boy like nothing. He's just like there went your neck, and it's like in the theater's like, oh shit, we're going there. Ooh, ooh. And then I like where they refreshed everything, but it was just so well put together. You could tell like the people behind it, behind the scenes, like really care about the movie and the franchise. The Michael character, the Laurie character, that they really took their time with this and they really crafted something really, really good. Like I enjoyed the hell out of this movie.
Yeah, I thought it was really nice to see also. I think that was also why Jimmy decided to come back because I felt like they really put some care into the characters and not just was like, here you go, and like threw her back in there for main purposes. I guess. Like I didn't think she would ever do it again, honestly. So I was very surprised when I read the first thing, like, oh, she's coming back. Like, okay, I want to see what they do with this because they kind of lost me a couple of times with some of these Halloween movies in the series where I'm just like how did we get here? Like I can't. This doesn't even make sense. And so I liked that they did that, and I did like that he was more human because that was another thing that bothers me with some of the movies. It was like, why are we playing? He's not supposed to be like Freddy, who technically had already died, or like Jason, who they brought him back with like some voodoo or whatever. He was supposed to be a person who was just crazy, like, and so to have him come back or be where he couldn't be killed at all, I'm like, why? He was just a big guy, and crazy people usually have crazy strength, and so that's not too off for me. That makes sense. But to have it where like he's getting shot at, and this is just like, oh no, he's still alive. It's like, oh, okay. Everybody dies but him, I guess. And so I did like this way it was done, and to the point where I think her kids were supposed to be taken from her during that. So it's like, how bad was it for you that they was like, you know what, we're gonna take your kids, we're gonna take your daughter from you because you're clearly not like fit to be her mom right now. And I felt like even that was very not that it relatable, but like mostly like, okay, just make you really kind of sympathize for her a little bit. Like
She had a kill compound with a fucking arsenal. Like, bro, if I was Child Protective Services, I'd be like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, time out. You see that basement, and you're just like, Yeah, we're gonna take the kids like right now because you have jail cells in every fucking room. Like this how you feel about it?
Yeah, her PTSD was a bit extreme. It was.
Just
And I'm not sure if she did like, I mean, like I think at some point they mentioned the therapy, but I feel like she needs to do more. Like, cause that level, again, I understand it. I truly do in regards to that's a lot to deal with. Like you had like your whole life ahead of you, and then that happens, and it's like you're always thinking kind of behind your shoulder. It's like, oh, he didn't die, so at any point he may come back, and I think that's what it was. But I think all of those little like human touches to it, the fact that again she
yeah, it's
lost
like
her
she had
kid.
therapy, but she's also alcoholic, which is another reason why they took them kids. Because it's like I would understand it too if I had something that traumatizing. Like I want to numb the pain with something, and alcohol is very easy to get compared to drugs. So it also feeds into like why she was what she was, which is really cool.
Yeah, I loved those aspects of it, and even and I would say her daughter kind of annoyed me in that movie only because I felt like she really wasn't trying to understand. And while I get the aspect of some people may not understand what you're dealing with because it's not them, it's also like let's have some empathy, I guess. And while Leslie is a bit extreme with it, and I can't like I don't know how that would be to grow up with somebody who's like literally has all of this in their home, where it's like okay, I'm just waiting for him to come back vibes. I don't know how that would be, but again, like just some empathy. Like there's clearly reason why she's like this. It's not just because she wants to be this way.
But I
Um,
get it because it's like, she's younger. She wasn't there. She doesn't know firsthand. To her, it's like, yo, he's locked away. He's never coming home. This and that. But it's like, you weren't there. You didn't live there. You didn't have this guy literally terrifying you and almost had you on the brink of death like on more than one occasion. So it hits different when you're seeing this secondhand versus like you actually lived this.
yeah, I definitely like that aspect, and then even the aspect with like at the end when I guess they tried to like burn the I guess the house was supposed to get burned down. Like at the end of that, I believe that that's where they were burning the house
Yeah,
down.
that's where
The next one,
that's where she set the house on fire at the end of that one.
because then the next one kind of starts off with the fire still happening. So I think
Yeah,
it's
so
right.
like the Halloween remake, I always look at that as that's Laurie's story, and they tell it through Laurie's perspective with the PTSD, with the broken family, and Mike's more of like a subplot versus Halloween Kills, which is the second movie. That's more of Michael's movie, where Michael goes on a fucking rampage, but then it's also the town that like actually believe in Laurie because now it's like, oh shit, not only is this did he kill like this people, but we went to the house and he basically obliterated like a dozen of our fire workers and cops and whatnot. So now it's like Michael terrorizing the city figuratively and literally because now the town is like up in arms trying to go after Michael, but Michael's just killing people left and right. So Kills is more Michael's movie, but the Halloween remake is more Laurie's movie, and then that third movie is kind of like it finally comes to a head, especially the way that Halloween Kills ends, where it's like, oh, we're killing her. Spoiler alert: the annoying daughter dies, and you're just like, oh shit! Like I remember being in the theater, we were all like, because we didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah, it's weird because like I didn't feel bad at all. That I didn't feel bad at all. It was just like you're not being smart in a lot of the moments leading up to that, and I feel like that is always the thing. You have to think smart in these scenarios. I felt like she wasn't, and unfortunately, it ends with her dying. I did love the beginning of that though, and not that the fire part is like that's horrible, but I feel like the fact that again this is the whole I don't really give a shit. Like he just doesn't care who it is. I feel like the fact that you kill, they're saving you or trying to save you during their job, and you're like, yeah, no, I'm gonna just get rid of all of you, and then go into the town and do more stuff, and it's like that's one of those again, him really not giving a shit like at all, like
Yeah,
kills a
and it's
random
cool that
person.
they show the human side of him again because like he gets his fingers cut off in one and the fingers stay cut off. He's injured. You see some of the mask is burned, and it's not no supernatural like he heals like this like he's fucking Wolverine. It's like nah, he's not 100%, but he's still killing people with one arm basically, and it's just like yeah, that's beyond terrifying. Mind you, he's what like in his 80s, 70s or 80s in the movie, and it's just like yeah. What's the fucking P90X for that or CrossFit? Because yo, those kills are just like, yo. Remember when the black couple was like, nah, that's why I'm strapped, that's why I'm armed, and she starts shooting at fucking Michael because he kills the husband, and she starts shooting at him and coming closer. That he kicks the fucking car door to make it to where she shoots herself and kills herself. Like, oh my, it was so bad, but I laughed so hard in the fucking theater because I was like, really, really, Nicki Minaj, that's what you thought was gonna be cool? You thought your fucking Colt 45 was gonna get him, and he just said, blah, hold his car door, kill yourself.
Yeah, I didn't feel bad for her either because I felt like in this situation, again, he killed how many firefighters? I feel like there was what, like 68 of them he killed.
There's like a dozen people at that house, and he just went through everybody.
And so they do that, and again, I did like that his mask was burned and he didn't get like a new mask. I do like that he was injured, and I even say he was killing, but he wasn't even moving the same, and I appreciated that because it implied, we're wrestling fans, you selling it, but like he was hurt, and it wasn't like the next movie, like wait a minute, guys, I'm fine, and like no, he literally was hurt. It showed that he was hurt. He wasn't like he was still killing, but he wasn't even moving the way he was in the first one, which I did like. I like little details like that because it's like clearly somebody's paying attention, and I'm not questioning like how we get here or how he's still 100% after all of that, and he's supposed to be older because it's not like it was a younger version. It was literally the same person, and I liked that part. It's like, well, no, he's not moving like he's clearly somewhat fit because he killed mad people, but also he's not moving as spry as you think of half of the Halloween movies in this whole series, where sometimes you're like, but how? How are you still moving like this in this kind of capacity? Um, and then the third one, Halloween Ends, which I really did like in regards to kind of finally coming to a head, which I thought was necessary. Where the town was kind of just like it. I like that they showed the town as well, kind of finally really dealing with everything. I guess instead of it being that weird, like, oh, you shouldn't be at this house, or it's a spooky story you tell, your kids every year. It was like they really was honoring the people that died 4 years ago. I believe it's a 4 year difference from the second one. Um,
Hmm.
and it's like the town itself is also kind of struggling with the fact that this happened again, and it happened in the way it happened. And I liked that aspect because again, I always wonder in situations like how is the town all regular or nobody's really feeling away. Like I would be terrified if I knew this happened. Personally, I would have left. I would have moved. There's no way I'm staying in a town where I know this happened not only in the 70s, but then he came back and did it again. Personally, I would have moved.
I would have
Personally.
moved out of the town, out of the state. Anything name starts with the letter H, I'm like, get me the fuck away from there. Like, no.
Yeah, I didn't understand why they would just act like I get like a small town and sometimes people don't want to like I guess move on. But I felt like in that situation I wouldn't have felt comfortable. And I was slightly annoyed with the black couple who just moved in because I'm like, guys, they were making me so mad because I was like, y'all not being smart about any of this. And so when they met their ends as well, I was like, and this is what you get for like not using some common sense here. Like we're
Some
I
people
like
don't
to say,
care.
I like to say that, when I look at scenarios, it's like, how would I do this scenario? I don't want to be involved in any of this. So I'm going to be smart. So why would you move into the town and be like, oh, okay, like this is what's going on. And then now you're involved because now he's coming for you as well. And I didn't understand that. I'm like, this is now the 2020s range. Why have we learned nothing? Like, why are we
I
learning
mean, some
anything from
people are stupid. They found a house on Craigslist for like a third of the price, and they're like, "Yo, we in there. We in like Flint. We living in the Myers house. What's the worst that could happen?" You thought, and then you found out. You fucked around and found out.
Yeah, that was another. And then I think the scene he had with the townspeople, which I was like, again, kind of just showcasing how like how just brutal he was. Like that whole little kind of standoff he had with the town, the people of the town. And I'm like, once again, y'all not being too smart because he's hurt. He's now some time has passed too. So it's like he's not even what he was in the very first version of this. Like he's even older than he was, previously. And y'all like why is he getting through y'all like this? Like I was so annoyed with the people because I'm like, guys. why are you not behaving just a little bit smarter? Like, why didn't y'all like double team, triple team, have some real plan in play? Because he's hurt, he's older now, and then I did like a little aspect of the other guy that they were trying to imply was, doing stuff as well. I like that little aspect to kind of say he's kind of getting up there now. Michael Myers is kind of too old to now doing what he did in that first one, where he like I believe he killed 40 something people in the second one. It was a lot of people he killed. I think
Bro,
the
I
worst
just
one.
remember he took out that fucking riot crew like it was nothing. Like you think pipes and baseball bats are gonna do anything to old at to it's still Michael Myers, old or not, and that he mowed all them down, including Tommy Doyle at the end, was just like you had that coming because that was a flawed plan. Like you thought that all that was gonna do something to him. Like, nah, you need to have shotguns at his head and just start rapid firing. Like, nah, dude.
I definitely, again, I didn't feel bad for them at all. And I'm like, I remember watching it and I'm like, if I now have to root for Michael Myers, that is a problem. That is a problem. If I'm sitting here like, you know what, Michael, I see it. I see why you did this. I cannot feel bad for these people because they're being so ridiculous that they deserve everything you did. Like, I felt bad. I didn't feel bad for any of them at all. I was literally on Michael's side. I was
But
literally like telling people on social media, like, no, I'm really on Michael's side right now because none of them was being smart. None of them was doing anything smart at all. You know, this is what you guys deserve for not being smart about this. And so I was literally cheering for him. And I think I've never cheered for him. I was cheering for him in that movie though, because I was just
But then
like,
again, it's like look at it from this perspective. Like if we're dropped into that situation, are we really going to be very rational? Where it's like we have a mass murderer. If we fuck this up, we're gonna die. But we gotta think like clearly right here, right now. While you got adrenaline, while you got so many different moving parts, and you have an entire town ready to riot on this guy. It's like I don't think we're gonna be the most rational people in that moment. But at the same time, like you had to do better because you guys sat there and planned this.
that's that's what I meant. Like they planned, and that's what they came up with. And I feel like if he killed as many people as he did the first time around, because this is a continuation, but then he also killed this amount of people. By the time we get to the third one, it's like that got to do a little better than this. Personally, again, I would have left. I would not have been waiting for it to come back. Personally, just not gonna put me in that situation at all. I'm just not gonna be there. But if I had to be in that situation, I felt like it just should have been planned a little better. I was definitely sharing with Michael. I was like, you know what, dude, do you? Okay, do what you need to do. It is fine because these people are not really being the smartest. But I do think this was a lot better, well done than some other ones in the middle of all of this. So like 3, 4, 5, 6, which I'm not really a fan of those. I feel like I don't even count them when I'm counting like Michael Myers movies. I feel like I have the first Halloween movie, Halloween H2O, the Halloween what is it called? The one that's like the continuation, but she's older. That's my third, and then my fourth is Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2. That's where I kind of have it for me. And then I did like Halloween Kills only because that first scene for me, it was like if you think of graphic serial killer vibes of like all the flashes we had over the years, that fit right there of just how kind of I don't want to say badass, but yeah, badass that he was in that whole movie. The part that is the bloodiest one, I believe, in all the movies. That's the most kills he's had in that one.
Oh yeah.
And so that for me, if you're going off basic just slasher type stuff of what do you expect out of a slasher movie, that ranks like part of my top five because of it. So,
That's
what are
fair.
your top five?
All right, so that's fair. My top five. So obviously OG Halloween. Again, I love Halloween 2, the OG one, the continuation of that story. I love the remake of the Halloween, the non Rob Zombie version. I also love Halloween Kills for the same reason. Like I love Halloween 2. It's like it's Michael's story. Michael is on one. Michael's just running rampant, but then in this trilogy version, they do more of like the town's reaction to it. Similar to Halloween 2, the OG one, but it's more like logical because that OG Halloween 2 is more like the town still didn't believe what was going on until like the very end, where it's like, oh shit, he pulled up at the hospital. How many people are dead? And the cops like, at least a dozen, maybe more. This is just what we counted. So with Halloween 2, it's like, living in this time. They also make that in like this time range where it will make more sense. So I love Halloween Kills just for the kills. Also, like you said, perfectly. It's the most kills he's done in a Halloween movie. And it's a lot of logical stuff where like they sideline lore, but then also makes sense because it's like, bro, you're not like in your 30s. Like sit down, heal
Yes.
up, and a lot of stuff like made sense. And then you said you didn't like 4, 5, or 6. I'm gonna throw some bail to Halloween 4 because I thought Halloween 4 is really good. That's the one where they introduced Jamie Lloyd, Michael's niece. He comes back to town. He blacks out Haddonfield. He does the kills. It's a lot of creative kills too, where like, he takes a shotgun and impales a girl. He kills a man with his hands, but like you see it graphically, and it's just like Halloween 4 is actually really good. But then they also make sense with like how the hell Loomis survived, and then Loomis comes back in the fold and whatnot. So Halloween 4 is actually good. Like 5 is solid till the end, and then the end is just like, you had one job, land a plane. What the fuck with the cult thing, man? I get so upset at that. But and then obviously the curse is like, yeah, that's on the lower end if we're doing like top half, bottom half. But Halloween 4 is really good. So that'll be my 5. OG Halloween, OG Halloween 2, the remake Halloween, this 2018 version, Halloween Kills, Halloween 4. I think that'll be my order. Although I'll flip flop remake Halloween and OG Halloween 2. So I have OG Halloween and then 2018 Halloween 1, 2.
I don't know. I like it. I like it. Yeah, I don't know. I felt like I liked very specific things about the first two Halloweens and in this last trilogy, and I think that was why I couldn't even put four for me because I'm like I look for certain things when I see slasher movies, and I just need because I'm thinking about like even Scream, and then that's a wrap for another day, a wrap for another day. But like even with how they kind of went along that eventually, I'm like, well, how the hell did we get here? Like, no, don't like this makes no sense to me. Not, but so I think that's what it is for me as far as what I'm like ranking of what did they do. But I think his scariest was probably the first two as far as how he was, and then Halloween again. That's like my top in my top five because of the amount of kills and kill the fire department to me is crazy. Like it's like, oh, they helping you? Yeah, no, we don't need this. It's fine. We don't need the help. I'm good. Those vibes of like he really just didn't give a shit, even though they were technically helping him. Um,
And it
and
killed
so
them in minutes. Like not like maybe like 3 minutes, and it's like there went your entire fire department. It's just like, yo, but then at the same time they set the tone real quick where it's like, yeah, we're gonna be even more bloodier.
yeah,
And
and I think for that I like again top like if you're thinking of like movies where it's just like what you expect out of a good slasher, that was it. And the thing is, he wasn't even using necessarily. I say slashers, I think of like knives and stuff, but there were things where he was just doing things with just his hands, which I always kind of respected to an extent. Like Jason's pretty bloody with certain things he would do with certain kills, and I was like, all right, but he cared about the kids, I guess. In this, he just didn't care about anybody. I feel like, and that makes him like, you know, as far as just I don't really care too much.
yeah, it's
Definitely
like
up
if you come across them, it's like, bro, run. He ain't throwing sympathy to nobody. And if he's near anything, like he'll use whatever weapons, he'll use car doors. It don't matter. The only thing he can do is shoot someone. But at the same time, it's Michael Myers. Like, why do I need to?
that's true. That is true. Well, we reached the end of this, but this is fun. I like talk. I don't really talk too much because like I say my favorite slasher is Freddy, but my reasoning is literally just because I like the whole dream aspect. But then I always say I don't sleep as often as those people, so I don't know what he will do anything because I won't be sleep long enough. But but I
You say
like
that
that
now.
aspect. Right, let me.
You
But no,
take a
I
quick
like
30-minute nap and it'd be like, that's your last.
I don't even nap. So I feel like I don't take naps like regular people. I wish I did sometimes,
And
but
then the
like,
funny shit is like Freddy is like a fucking social media troll where like he's gonna get something witty off before he kills you. Where it's like, really, dude, you gotta flame me before you kill me, like figuratively and literally. It's like, nah. Like Freddy's like a smart ass.
he definitely used to come in with some things like, oh man, like not right before somebody dies. You say this, like so rude. It's so rude. It's so rude. But as far as like outside of Freddy, and I separate him only because of the dream aspect. If I'm picking freaking Michael Myers or Jason, I'm picking Michael Myers just because Jason. I just
Throw a
again,
glass of water on Jason, watch him fucking have PTSD. That's the end of Jason. Here, you thirsty? Blah. Jason's gonna be like, ugh. You know, a Harlem Shake or something. Like, I don't know.
that Harlem shit.
But as far as
But
the most dangerous, yeah, it's Freddy because like at some point you gotta sleep, and that's where he operates, and you
yeah, I
can't you
think that
can't
was why
fight
I like
sleep.
him. Honestly, it's like you're like imagine you thinking like, oh, I had a long day, I can go to bed. Nope, because now you're
Nah,
gonna deal with Freddy. I feel like, and that's why I think as far as worse, like that's a shitty situation to be in when you're like dead tired and it's like, oh, he decides this is the time to come in and do what he needs to do. But
yeah, and on
taking
top
him out
of
of
like Freddy will use like the supernatural shit, which is like you just cheating. Not only you got the glove, but you could fucking use supernatural shit. Like, bruh, come on.
exactly.
Come on. But then again, I gotta rewatch a lot of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise because it's like there's some I've skipped.
There are some that are good for, and then there's some that's like it's more like you watch it because it's like kind of cheesy. So I don't take it as I'm supposed to be like scared of it. It's more like okay, it's more some of the stuff he's saying is even more ridiculous than he said in like the first or second one, and some of the kills are pretty cool. Like I know a lot of people like the Dream one. Can't think of which one that is. I feel like that might be three or four, where it was like these kids who was able to kind of really fight him, probably more than anybody else ever had. Uh, but
The only
taking him
one I
out,
remember was New Nightmare, which is like they made that like late 90s where like Freddy comes back to life and like him crawling back into the limelight and crawling and regaining his powers. And but then it's Heather's like what 20 years older and like they're doing the movie, but then it's like Freddy coming back to life. Like that's the only one I remember vividly. And like that one's actually good. Although I think some people were like lukewarm on it.
yeah, I'm pretty loose on that one. Not gonna lie. But if we was to take Freddy out of it just because he's a little bit different, I would put Michael over Jason anytime.
Oh hell yeah.
Just because, just like logically, I'm like Jason. Outside of like Freddy versus Jason, he was only like not Jason X one. He was only a problem if he was near his crystal lake. I feel like with Michael Myers, like even though he kept going to the town, it was like, but he legit went to the town. People was like living at home. They were like enjoying their houses. They were going home from like work. They would go to a bar or whatever, and he came in and kind of causes some chaos. You don't have to go to Crystal Lake. You choose to. I feel like in that regard, I put Michael over just because of that alone.
Bro, Michael learned how to fucking drive. This is a guy that was in a fucking sanitarium or like locked away in a mental institute as a teenager and learned how to fucking drive. Like, yeah, Michael will be like, yeah, let me go kill someone, steal their car, then drive to you. Like, oh, you on that type of energy. Oh shit.
Like shit, I can't even drive. Michael learned, and I can't even do it. He learned. Okay, just to go do some more killing. I respect
Yo,
it.
imagine if you were on that highway, you look to your fucking left and it's Michael Myers like driving to like his next victim and he just looks over and shit. Like, you gonna let me over or do I gotta get out and kill you? Literally.
Just kindly let him in. Like you got it.
It's
You
like,
got it,
yeah,
my
does Michael obey like the traffic laws, or is it just like, oh shit, that's actually Michael Myers. Let me pull off. Oh no, he may be pulling off too. Let me like speed up.
guy. It'd be funny if he did follow traffic laws. Like he's gonna kill somebody, but let me follow the law first. Like I thought there would be a nice little aspect if he actually did. But that is true. I forgot that he did learn how to drive to come back, which is crazy.
Yeah, like
Pretty cool.
H2O, he goes cross country because like Laurie's like school is like what, California, right?
Yeah.
So he basically goes cross country. It's like, bro, yeah, Mike all day because Mike will actually get in a car and drive. Like he does that in 5 too. He gets in a car and fucking drives and kills like one of the girls.
Yeah. Definitely gotta
Michael
respect
don't play fair.
you
Michael
gotta
just
respect
don't
the
play
dedication.
fair.
You gotta respect the dedication. He was clearly dedicated to the goal in mind.
And then the man got some humor too. You see like OG Halloween where like he kills the dude, but then he comes in with the fucking like ghost shit with the glasses on. Like I came for some sex. Well, you gonna get on the phone? Okay, watch what I'm about to do to you.
Yeah, I remember that part. That was actually pretty like I guess a little bit of humor because you wouldn't think he would do that, but he did. And it's like the fact that you took the time to put the costume on and then put the glasses on top of yourself and walk in there, kind of play around with her a little bit before you did what you needed to do.
Mike was horny because he watched them have sex. Like, they're having sex and he just in the hallway like,
But I mean, he was locked up for a while, just I respect it. I respect that that was the reason
See,
behind it.
that's why he was so enraged. He never had sex. If someone got him off, Michael Myers probably wouldn't be killing so many people. He just needs some ass, and no one would give him some ass. So he's like, you know what? You got to go. You could have gave me a handy, but
Maybe that
no.
would have solved the problem. Maybe that would have solved all of it if he just kind of got one.
Yeah,
Like,
because
no.
notice how like, yo, he won't kill you in the middle of sex. He's gonna watch, and then afterwards, he's like, all right, let me get you out of here, because that should have been me.
Okay,
I
put
should
the
I should have tapped that ass, but no, you want to sit here with your pretty hair and your glasses and all that shit. Like, damn it, I've been locked up for like since I was 6. I need some.
Oh
That's
man,
a takeaway from this podcast, yo. Michael Myers, if he had some sex, he probably wouldn't have killed so many people.
that's gonna be the note in this. Like facts, things we learned in this. He might have not killed so many people.
Thanks for our
I think
TED
he would
talk.
kill.
If Michael Myers had sex, would a lot of more people live? Tune in next week. We talk about Michael Myers' sex life and the lack of it.
This
See, again, think of OG Halloween too. Like, the girl's in fucking naked in the hot tub. He could have immediately killed her, but nah, I want to sit there. I'm gonna look at you real quick. I'm gonna pull up. Here, you can play with my hand. Ooh, this is actually feeling good. Okay, I'm getting aroused. And then the minute she bites him, he's like, man, nah, you gotta go now. What the fuck is this biting shit?
that's so true. I forgot about that. He definitely did.
But
I
he
don't
was
know
with
how
it
she.
until it's like, nah, you going too far now. I gotta dunk you.
It might have saved some lives. It might have saved some lives. But this was fun. Thank you for coming on and hanging out with me. Tell everybody what you have going on and where they can find you.
Well, you can find me on all social media platforms at It's Justin Rich. You can find me Wednesday nights live on Those Wrestling Girls Twitch channel from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for TWG Fan Club. Myself, Queen PR, Brian H. Waters, and Ciando B. We talk a lot of things wrestling and current affairs. You can catch me Tuesday nights, Twitter Spaces, around 6:35 p.m. live for Turnbuckle Talk with Mimi and Corey, where we talk all things wrestling. You can catch me from time to time on True Heel Heat Sports and True Heel Heat Wrestling. Both of those channels are located on YouTube, where we talk sports, wrestling, and all that fun stuff. We here, we outside, we active. Salute to Michael Myers, the GOAT of horror movie serial killers. I said what I said.
Love that ending. Again, thank you. I will have all the links in the description, so please go and follow along, follow social media. Go pop on the shows too. I love good people with a lot of content, so definitely go check out all the content that Justin has. And again, everybody, we will catch you next time. Bye, guys.